5.3.2 Ways of clarifying terms and idea. So there are 6 ways of clarifying terms and idea, and the first one is giving a synonymous expression or paraphrase. So the first way of clarifying terms and idea is to give synonymous expression, or the expression that has the same meaning to the idea, or to paraphrase the idea, which is easily understood by most people. And we can also see that this method is commonly used commonly used in the dictionary. And move on to the second way is giving necessary and sufficient condition. So when we explain by giving synonymous expression or paraphrase, we provide much the same in we provide much the same meaning, but not exactly the same meaning. So we use this way to explain the idea or expression by giving the exactly the same meaning. For example, a triangle is a plane geometric figure with 3 straight sides. However, this method is not often used in our everyday usage. It is often used in mathematics and science. Move on to another point is giving clear example and non-example. Giving example is one of the most helpful ways to clarify your idea or expression, and we usually experience it in the class when teacher provide example for us. Moreover, we can also use the non-example to make it more clear or to set the limit to the idea. For example, you were talking about the term anime with your friend, but your friend don't get the clear view of their word, so you give them the definition of anime, but still they don't get it clearly yet. So you decided to provide them with few more examples of the term anime, and to make it more clear or to set the limit to the word, you provide a non-example of the word anime for them. And move on to the next point is drawing contrast. And another way to explain the term or idea is to give the contrast to the idea or to the expression. For example, we use the term tall for someone in a group by contrasting it to the short or average height. And the last point is explaining the history of an expression. This last way is used when we want to find out the further detail or information or full explanation of the term or idea, and we can do it by relying on the internet as the useful sources, but also make sure that the sources are reliable.
5.4 How much detail is needed by this audience in this situation? In this part, we will distinguish the word between direct evidence with circumstantial evidence and the word original evidence with hearsay evidence. So let's get started. According to the book Critical Thinking by Lex Fisher, direct evidence consists either of the testimony of the witness who perceived the fact to be proof, and circumstantial evidence is the testimony of the witness who perceived not the fact to be proof but the fact from which the assistant. In order to understand these two terms clearly, we should take a look at the example together. Suppose we have two people here. One is David and another one is John. Suppose that the fact at issue is whether John used a certain knife. If David said he saw John use the knife, he is giving the direct evidence of a fact at issue because he is giving the evidence to prove that John used knife. But if David said that he saw the knife in John's hands, so he is giving circumstantial evidence of John using the knife because he is giving the evidence that cannot prove that John used knife directly, but he is giving the evidence that can be assumption that John used knife. So now let's distinguish another two words between original evidence and hearsay evidence. So let's see the example together to understand these two terms. So, if the evidence comes from the witness who deposed to fact of his own knowledge, it is called original evidence. On the other hand, if his evidence or his information is derived from other person and he is himself has no personal knowledge of the fact to which he deposed, then his evidence is said to be hearsay evidence. 5.5 Problem requiring clarification in reasoning. In this part, we will talk about a misunderstanding or misleading when you provide your reasoning without clarifying the term or word that you use in your sentence clearly. Here is one example which illustrates one way of misleading people. Suppose that someone advertises about their sugar product by saying that people need a lot of energy for their everyday life. So the cheapest way to get the energy you need is to use their sugar product. In this advertising, the advertiser doesn't clarify the word energy clearly, so we don't know the word energy referred to. Is it referred to the strength? Or in physics, is it referred to the power? We don't know. That's why the word energy needs to be clarified. Because the word energy can be mean different in different contexts.
So, hello guys. Now move on to the last part of the presentation. After my mates just presented you the whole lesson, now I'm gonna brief up all the points quickly. So, in order to clarify and interpret expression and ideas, we must know two things. The first one is problem, and what we want to clarify, and the second one is about the audience, who we want to ask or who we want to help us in clarifying. Alright, there are 2 points to help you clarifying ideas skillfully. So the first point is that we must know about the possible source of the clarification. So there are 3 sources. A. Dictionary definition. B. Definition and explanation from authoritative in field. And C is stipulating meaning. Second point is about ways of clarifying terms and ideas. So there are 5 ways. A. Giving a synonyms, expression or paraphrase. B. Giving necessary or sufficient conditions. C. Giving clear examples. D. Drawing contrast. And the last one, explaining the history of an expression. All of these points are just the thinking map that help you to summarize the whole lesson. If you want to know about the detail of each point, you can go back to the presentation of my teammates. So this is the end of our presentation. Thanks for your attention.